Well, guys, we want to tell you, we appreciate all the shares. We appreciate all the ratings and reviews and comments. Hit 5 stars on us on iTunes.
Make fun of Brian's jeans.
They're not that short, really. They're scooting
That's
up.
still something to make fun of.
YouTube's been a good place, too. We've got a lot of people watching on YouTube and checking them out, so we appreciate the reviews there, too, guys.
Effort to just more and more defeat or chaos or more weight. Like you're taking more on, like, what good is all this? So I'll just, you're making a decision in emotion, which is not healthy, and you probably haven't processed all your emotions. What I know just from, like, my season of complete meltdown where I had a panic attack, which you don't control those. I found that out. Like, I kept in my head getting we started the conversation here. You get the next right answer, and so you just go work the next right answer. Any answer you have to fix something, you go fix whatever you can fix, but you're not dealing with anything. So it's all mounting up in the heart and internally, and you haven't done any of it. And if you're a dude, I can't speak for women, you're still able to kind of operate because you're accomplishing something until you can't. And you're on autopilot using your gifts and talents to accomplish whatever. The real problem, and I even heard from the Lord, was you have all this responsibility, but really what you have is fear and a lot of excuses. Is you're called to step away and minister and be refreshed, but get your soul ministered to, get your spirit ministered to, fill up, rest your body, rest your mind, bring peace in from somewhere. And the only place that peace comes in when there's chaos is time with the Lord. You have to get away. I have yet to have a bunch of stuff go on ever and get on a boat and hit water and get 10 feet off of a dock in water and stuff not change. Like, it breaks something for me, being in what God created. And a lot of guys say they get that out in the woods, but, like, I'm away from whatever was pulling at me, whatever was talking to me, the massive amount of weight, and I can just get some kind of, like, clarity. Thad, you can probably do that when you run.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I do run is just to, like, anything I've been thinking about is you just stop thinking about it because you have to focus on, I got to take another step. I got to take another step. I got to get home. I got to do this, like, whatever. And it's like, just run. And yeah, I mean, I haven't ran this week because I did a trail race last week, which was super fun. But yeah, I mean, I ran 15 miles on Sunday, but it was awesome because it was like, man, this is like the responsibilities of, like, home, the responsibilities of kids, of work, of whatever, just all kind of goes away for a while. Like, you can pick it back up, but that is also, like, something that I learned in school. So I went to school to do ministry, did full-time vocational ministry for 5 years after college, and one of my professors, and I say this a lot because it's probably the one thing from college that if I look back and say, I need to erase everything else, I can't erase that. He said, your family doesn't deserve your trauma from work. Like, find a place to drop it off on the way home. And, like, I tell people that all the time, and I'm, like, about to officiate a wedding, and I told people that, and one of them's a cop.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just deal with, like, so much stuff at work. And I was like, well, like, I'm not saying don't talk about it at home. I'm just saying, like, don't trauma dump on them when they didn't ask for it, kind of thing. And that's hard to do. But, yeah, find a place to, like, lay your burden down on the way home, and you can pick it back up tomorrow.
That's a really good point. Like, so first off, some of the stuff we're talking about, we don't have the answers for in some of those seasons, and we can't fix.
Yeah.
But you said something really, really important. So, one, sometimes we're dealing with things that we can't fix.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely dealing with things, Brian, when it goes back to what we were talking about, we're definitely dealing with things when we have things happen to us or to those we care about that are out of our control.
Yeah.
And so when we want to control things, it's going to put us into chaos. But what you said that was incredibly powerful was, where do I take this? Men suck. Yeah. We absolutely suck at slowing down and being like, all right, I'm in this work crisis.
Yeah.
Where's the guy that's a peer or a mentor that spiritually is aligned and has some peace in his life right now that I could call and be like, I'm not okay?
Well, and it has also like some experience too of like
Well,
you're
marriage.
saying like with a mentor with a whatever. Like if it's a work situation, like I don't know how to deal with it instead of speeding the engine up and like trying to dive headfirst and just go into the problem. It's okay to like get off the boat, wipe your feet, call somebody who might have a higher perspective, a non company perspective of your problem.
Well, they're
too.
outside your emotion too.
Yeah.
And so you need somebody for business
Yeah.
or work related stuff. It's ahead of you. You need somebody for marriage for sure.
Yeah.
Marriage is
Parenting,
harder than work.
marriage. I mean, that's why you're supposed to have mentors is because they've done stuff
And
that you
hey,
haven't.
so quite
done
frankly,
yet.
and Brian, we've done this. So Brian and I have a lot to offer each other. Most of the time we don't, because you have to have somebody when you've done so much. Like, and this is healthy and mature too. Like, I'm not ready to go sit down with that mentor.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had any time, any break, any fun in so long. It's not even funny. Touch your cord.
And
Touch my cord.
Is it twisted in there?
so that was
Check. Am I coming through? No. I keep breaking it. It's got to be like it's only
Is it
mine.
down there?
I know, it's because
Well,
it's caught in here.
it just like twists up on there. So, of course, if you guys do any type of like podcast, you know that as soon as you get going and you're going to talk about something that could
Be important.
penetrate somebody, it's going to get kind of weird. But that's why we have backup mics. Satan.
but hey, but like I said just a minute ago, the devil's not here to take your talents. The devil's not here to like whatever. The devil's here to just make you busy and distracted. And realistically, like that could have been a distraction to get away from like the topic.
You just got to get used to breaking stuff, Thad. If you break everything like I do, you're just like, if something goes wrong, you're like, hey, it's probably me. Let's figure this out and own it. You're right. He's not nice, but a lot of times we do this to ourselves, and he just doubles down on what we're already doing. So I think, in maturity or wherever you're at, sometimes if you take on too much for too long, and that's a problem too, you just have to have a break with a buddy and be able to have a good, safe time and just chill. And then your next step, because you've been unhealthy, is to go sit with the Lord, and then it's to go sit with a mentor that can give you some perspective. I'll tell you, the crisis of our time is like, look at the amount. So we have more at our fingertips than ever, but we're all overloaded. And so you said it a minute ago, Dad, we said this and this, and why is it so many things? Like, why are we grabbing and anxious and invested in so many different things? Like, when did we quit? Because culture influences that. When did we quit going, no, this is my life. This is my career. These are my kids. This is what I want my household to run like. Like, actually sit with somebody and figure that out and drive with clarity towards those things versus doing, like, our kids are private school. It's the worst. Like, for most people, our kids don't do most of it, but I ask anybody to hang out, and they're like, we've got sports 52 times this week. And I'm like, I'm not that stupid.
Yeah,
I'm
and
just
I
not
think that's
your-
something that we set up in our household too, was like, we're going to do one activity at a time. Like, each of our kids can do one activity.
But you know what it tells me, though, right?
Yeah.
And that's smart. But, like, think about the man saying it. So ask a guy, like, he needs something and we need time to sit down. He's like, I can't because my daughter's doing this these 5 days. And then we travel here. My son's doing this, so we're dividing over here. My other daughter's doing this. Like, why? You're living for your kids are running everything because you're trying to create a somehow life for them by letting them do whatever. And then you're just responding to it. Like, your whole schedule is dictated by what everybody else is doing. And it's just, we're grabbing too many different things.
Right. And I think also, yeah, we get busy and we just grab the things. And then because we're so busy, we react with like, holy crap, I've got to grip the wheel tighter. I got to grip the wheel and I got to white knuckle everything and try to stay in control when it's like, it was never our life to control anyways. And like, I don't want to like sound facetious here, but like, it was never our life to control. Like, if anything, like, we just need to be like the guy in the boat that's just rowing and like, let the current take us to where it's gonna go and stuff. But
Why do you think
also,
we have in this, Brian? We were getting into this before with things mounting up. Why do you think most men? It could be women too. Why do you think so many of us deal with control in so many different areas?
Well, here we are week after week on the Get Canceled podcast. We like to record every single week and talk about all the things that nobody else wants to talk about. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can also see our faces and Kellen's beard on YouTube if you would like to check it out there. We appreciate all the reviews. We appreciate all the shares. All you have to do is go to the top right-hand corner. You're going to see 3 dots. Click them, and it'll let you copy a link and share it to your social media. We really appreciate it, and we're getting so many messages that come through either by text or email or even on Facebook in the messages where people are recounting maybe something they heard that they liked, or it helped them with something, or maybe it kind of spoke to a challenge that they were having. And we really appreciate you guys sharing, because I can tell you first and foremost, even today, some of the conversation is going to come from a place of like, man, this is really, really difficult. I don't feel like I'm living up to the influence that I have, or man, it's so hard to live in a world to where people look to you to be a certain thing or a certain way. You know, it's like this story they've read, and then all of a sudden you trip or you fall or you do something you're not supposed to, or you say something you're not supposed to. And it's like this immediate wave of like shame that comes on you. And it's like everybody messes up. But for some reason, when you're in a position of people looking at you a certain way, it's almost impossible to outrun like the shame and guilt of accidentally or even just slipping and falling and making it, making it count. Maybe you do a big one. And to answer your question, Kellen, control, for me, I think when I think about control, because you hear the world tell us about controlling people, right? Or manipulative people. When I start to think about control, I wonder if control is not this response to like a loss of security. I think of when someone is a controlling person, they approach everything in their life with the need to kind of massage it, handle it, manage it. But I think everyone, even the personalities that aren't controlling, have the ability to, when you lose some type of footing or security, to try to grab onto something. And when we start to speak in the non-physical, so if it's emotional or if it's something going on in our lives that's not like a physical thing, that's what we're doing emotionally. We're starting to trip, we're falling, we're sinking, we're drowning, we're whatever. And you start to reach. I picture, if you guys can picture, like it's gory, but someone like jumps off of a building or gets thrown off. It's like, can you imagine you're just reaching, right? You're just reaching. You're not going to get anything likely, but you're reaching. And so when I think in my mind, when someone is feeling like in a tailspin, I'll tell you, I felt like in a tailspin. I love and hate what we do here in this conversation that we have every week, because part of me loves to talk with people and loves to have conversations about what's going on. But the other part of me hates it, because I don't like to shade the gray a lot anymore. I don't like to, throw a blanket over it. Now you almost have to just like talk about it. And I was telling you guys before we started, a couple days ago, I had to sit for the rest of this tattoo like 7 hours, and there's only so much, crap you can do in 7 hours while you're getting a tattoo. I actually had a kids counseling call over Zoom while getting it, which was pretty wild, because I'm gritting my teeth most of the time, like, ew, you're doing great. But you sit there, and the artist is generally the good ones anyway. They're not paying attention to you. He has his earphones in, because that's how he gets in the zone to do whatever he does. Artists are weird. And so you have all this time. I'm sitting here thinking, over the last couple of weeks, we've been having this conversation, and I've talking about, man, I just really feel like, and I don't understand it, because I mess up so much, but I feel the Lord, like, for like almost 3 weeks, like kind of waking me up or keeping me from going to sleep, with this like press to pursue him. And I'm like, I don't really want to. Today I said 7 cuss words. When you recount what you've done during the day that would keep you from being able to kind of pursue him. So it's like you're trying to talk yourself out of it, which is the enemy, trying to tell you, you can't go talk to God now. You did these things today. You did that. You thought about this. You thought about that. So that's going on.
Anytime we're justifying something too, it could also be our own selfishness.
Yeah.
That we don't want to do any more work. We don't want to give this to God. We're in that emotion. And so we go, you know what? I don't need to give it to God because look at all the stuff I've done wrong. It just keeps us from going, I'm going to get what I want, which is still control, right?
It is. And I thought, I'm sitting there thinking while he's doing this red cape here, man, it's been like 2 weeks since I've spent any real pursuit time because life just got a little bit out of hand. And I want to stop short of being a baby. People have a lot going on, a lot of hard stuff going on. But I think the enemy knows how to attack us differently. Some things are just what they are and they suck. Stuff happening to people. But I also think the enemy's he's a strategist in the way that he attacks us, knowing what can really get our attention.
Yeah, he knows you. We talk about the psychic bullcrap. When people really are hearing from something, they're hearing from demons because the enemy's real and he's had things and watched you your whole life.
Yeah.
So he knows all about you.
He can set the trap.
Think about not having his level of chess maneuvering, right? You're not the enemy, but think about just with a spouse. When you live with somebody for 4 or 5 years and how to push their buttons and you know them well enough to even do that, right? Think about what he's capable of simply because he knows you.
Well, and he's doing it to me for sure. I've had a couple of things over the last couple of weeks that just don't make logical sense. And if everyone could just peel back the onion even one layer or pull the curtain back just a little bit, any normal logical person would go, that's crazy. But it still happens. There's nothing you can do about it. And about that time, I kind of just stopped that pursuit for the last couple of weeks. And I'm sitting there finishing this tattoo thinking, man, outside the surface level, God is great. God is good. Thank you for this food type of prayer. I haven't really had any. And it's like this, I don't know. It's like, is the light off? It's a weird, like, you don't even feel like you want to. And then that you're laying in bed in that whole, like, I've done too much sinning today to be praying takes over. Whereas before you kind of fight that, because I don't know that we do many days in our lives without at least a little bit of sin in our lives. I was just talking with people downstairs. Sin has so many different looks. Not all of it is really nasty and embarrassing.
No, and the closer you get to God, the more you're like, man, transparently, if you look at your actions and your thoughts, you're like, I suck. I'll tell you this, though, Brian.
Yeah, because you're drawing closer to a holy
God.
God.
But we don't glorify the enemy, but listen, he knows you. The other thing I'll say again is psychics that hear from things they're hearing from demons. It's demonic for any of you playing with any of that stuff. Stop playing with your life. It's your life and you're valuable. But the other thing that I'll say is what do we know about the enemy? He's the great deceiver, right? What does he want to keep us away from? In our trials, in the seasons that we can't, when the disciples were on the boat, what brings peace? The name of Jesus.
Just Jesus.
When Jesus walks to the boat, what brings peace to the storm? Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of a storm, peace outside of a worldly condition is found in the Lord. And so what the enemy wants to do, like you said, I don't even feel like it, and these things are happening. His number one MO is to keep you away from peace, from the Lord, to keep you away.
Busy.
Because you can't bring peace into that situation. Sometimes because the wound's so big from the past with whatever's triggering you, you don't know how to work through your own emotions. You need to be close to the Father. And that's the answer. I want to share this, Brian. So, and I'm going to share it. I've got a buddy. So he runs the band Pillar. He's a local pastor now, traveled the whole world. But he's my buddy. He's the guy that told me at one point, quits the band, is obedient to God's in this little bitty church. And he's like, I need to get my butt up. He's 10 years older than me too. This is years ago, out of bed and start working out. So I've stirring like a cup. And Thad, you've seen my mannerisms and my cleanliness in the kitchen, right? So it's like 5 o'clock. I'm barely awake. I just dump some pre-workout and water in the cup. and stirring it with my finger and knocking on his front door. And I'm like, drink this.
If you've ever been in a room with like just a tornado of a human in the kitchen and they're small, that's not Kellen. It's a tornado that's actually large and like breaks things.
We're getting stuff done,
Just
right?
moves
so-
mountains in the kitchens.
So he's had all this life experience, but he's just my friend. And I've watched him come and speak into men's lives and watched him raise his family and raise my family with him. And we've gone back and forth. We've just really done battle and life together and all the hard stuff. Well, he came and talked last night to our guys. And here was the key thing. He said, he had a conversation about fear. He said it's the kind that quietly sits on the throne of a man's life and keeps him from living smaller than God designed him to live. And then he broke it down, and you said one of these, Bryan, 3 things in the life of men that like attend church or in the body of Christ, they're fearful of: fear of failure, fear of not providing, fear of losing respect.
Mm.
And so when you talk about this thing that has its hooks in, especially in the work world, in the corporate world, so vicious, is, man, if I start dealing with this thing, all these people are going to look at me different, right?
Well, and it's kind of what I was talking about earlier. You know, we're just regular people, right? But we're having a conversation about image and stuff. And the way I look at it is a lot of times I feel like what sucks, if I'm being honest, because this has happened to me recently, and it honestly bothered me, and it shouldn't, but someone would say, man, I can't really believe you did that. You guys are on your podcast and you're talking about this and that. And I'm like, yeah.
We aren't better than you.
Well, that's the point of the podcast.
We aren't better than you, listeners. We're not better than you. We fail a lot, and I think people need to know that.
Hold on, I want to see the
But
back
yeah,
end
keep
of it.
going.
Well, it's like a spotlight's on you, right? And I start to think, one of the blessings of maybe trying to take a bold approach or feeling like you should has like this curse too, to where and this is why I think I have a lot of reverence for pastors outside of just the normal, like they have a really hard job, is that most of the people sitting out there in the pews expect that person to be moderately sinless, standing up there. And it's because we have this weird look, it's a pastor, he must not be doing anything. And it's like that guy or girl is probably under more spiritual attack than anyone in here, just due to the acceptance of their call to do what they're doing, especially if they're in alignment with God at all. I mean, they're going to be getting attacked. And, in that moment where I'm having this conversation the other day, I was like, yeah, and because I shoot my mouth off all the time because I truly care and want people to experience something I have, I feel like that I'm constantly getting faced with opportunities to be an idiot. And I'm like, then the competitive side wants to take over, and now I want to start doing the math on it. And I'm like, I bet I don't fail as much as you do. The flesh is like, yeah, I do mess up some, but what are you talking about? I bet I fight off way more bullshit than you do. And that's that competitive flesh, which isn't what God wants either, because I think when we hear the enemy talking to us, which is who that was, it was the enemy talking through someone else. That person's not the enemy. You know what I mean? The enemy is now giving that person an excuse for all the things they're doing in my name. They're able to just look at me, and instead of facing their own issues, they get to call me a hypocrite, kind of.
Well, and it ties back to fear, right? It still ties back to the fear of losing respect. So the opportunity that's missed from the influence is oftentimes when somebody's mouthing off like that. What even in every relationship you have too, when something pulls out a lot of emotion, we've talked about this in the past, it's usually shining a light inward on you, on something that you don't like about yourself. And so you cast that light on somebody else and get angry or distance yourself or whatever that is. But back to it, I mean, what do we, where this started was the answer is not isolating. The answer is not moving away from God, not talking to anybody. The answer is not dwelling and grabbing more stuff, right? to fix and just drowning. That's not the answer, guys. And so, Bryan, you asked at the beginning what I wish more guys would do, myself included, because I started this off by talking about having a panic attack because I didn't do what I was told to do, right? I wouldn't take time away. I wouldn't rest. I've had to have multiple conversations with some incredible leaders lately, too, and ask them just to, man, take a break. Like incredible guys. But you sit with them, and you know that this one thing's going on, right? You ever sit with a guy and you realize, Bryan or Thad, that hey, they're dealing with this, but you spend a couple hours and be like, so you're dealing with these 52 things all at once, and 50 of them you can't control. Like they're happening to you. Mm-hmm. Like, bro, take a break. Like, go take care of yourself. Get away the way you need to. Go do something fun. Go sit with a mentor. Go sit with a counselor.
I think dads get in a cycle, and I know I'm guilty of it. I'm going to raise my hand and say this is me 100%. We get in the cycle of like, oh, we got to be there for our kids, or we got to do this, whatever, and we like don't have hobbies. And moms do it too. I'm not going to say moms don't do it, because my wife's probably guilty of it as well, of like, not making time for the friend, not making time for the lifelong friend that has been in her life for 25 years or whatever. But like we get so wrapped up in like, oh, we got to get home, we got to make dinner, we got to get the kids in bed. And then by the time that you get the kids in bed, like last night I walked out of my son's room. This was my own fault too. Fell asleep because his room is cold and dark and sound machines on. And
I think kids I think kids emit some kind of like chemical into their pants. Yeah. Like I never wanted to fall asleep early. If I chill with either one of my kids still, I'm like, why am I so tired?
Yeah, and so, but it's a situation of like, by the time I got out of his room, it was like 9:15. I'm like, what do you go do at 9:15? Like in Broken Arrow, like what do you go do? Like, well, I think 9:15.
I think there's a couple problems right there. I think the first problem is that there's a lack, and so we start to desire the fun or the hobbies that we're not having because we didn't plan them out. You're not single anymore, and now you have kids, so you're an adult man. You're supposed to run your life, not let it run you, but we all end up letting life run us sometimes, and it feels icky.
Yeah.
Like it's the ick, right, of life is that like you look up and be like, oh, my week ran me. I didn't do anything I wanted. I didn't accomplish the things that I would have accomplished. That's why we got to have a plan. But the other problem is for men, dude, I talk to so many guys. We have to have guys in front of us. Had a guy that wanted to get in shape, and he like broke down and called me at lunch one day. And I won't never forget this conversation because it was 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And he's spiraling out, and I'm like, bro, your kid's 6 months old. And both of mine were over 4 at the time.
And right? It's hard. It's hard when they.
Well, I was like, but what does that mean for life? You're a dad of a newborn. So what do dads of newborns do? And so we just talked about. I said, so could we view it this way? Could we produce? Like, oh, that's great. So he immediately let go of 5 things that had no business in his life in that season of life and did them. Yeah. But to your point, I've had that conversation a lot. Is the reason that we don't have hobbies and we don't have fun is because we're not like we can't live an abundant, selfish life anymore. And we used to do all those things on a whim whenever we wanted to.
Yeah.
Now we have to plan them.
Well, and the thing is, like, I will challenge our listeners, put something in your phone. Put it in your phone. Like, put the reminder, like, need to reach out to this person to see if we can get on their calendar for next week. Whether it be dinner, whether it be, grab a drink, whether it be go hit golf balls at the golf course, like.
Well, I'd start by writing down, what do you like to do?
You need those things to go do and get out of your house, get out of your mundane routine of like, oh, I go to work, I sell insurance, I go home, I cook dinner, I wash the dishes, we bathe the kids, we put them in bed, sit down, watch Night Agent.
Well, I'll tell you. So
Bryan, watch Night Agent. Great show.
We all went to
season 3. It's out. It's sick.
That's what you did at 9:15 is you like.
That's what I did.
You lived through somebody else's.
I sat on the couch ideas. And I said, I will never be as cool as him because he is running around Thailand.
But to the point, let's go back to Vegas. Right, we went to Vegas.
Yeah,
we planned it, and we got some work stuff done while we were there. But like we had fun with people. You went back and we talked about, hey, there's this thing called like life and producing. and making sure that there's resource for our family. You need somebody in life that understands that's ahead of you. You're going to have kids and be married. You need a mentor there. You need to have some safe friends to have fun with.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have fun sometimes.
Well, to your point on that, I won't get too far into this, Thad, but on Kellen's birthday, you could just feel, you had a pretty hard week or two, leading up to that day. And not that we couldn't enjoy ourselves or whatever, but you could just tell you had been carrying, weight. And it's like when you have, safe friends, what also comes along with safe friends, especially when you're living in a world where everybody's so different, it's diverse at times. And I don't know how wrong or right that is, but I know that a lot of times there's going to be a diverse crowd around and you're doing your best. But on a time where you're having a lot of weight, we kind of let loose a little bit and have a good time. But you kind of, you're in a familiar place, when you can do it. But even that night that, you and I let loose a little bit, by the way, Thad, Kellen was kind of tossing me around like a rag doll a little bit. But you want to know why? It's because I lost like 40 pounds in 4 months. That's the only reason why.
Hey, baby, we dropping off.
That was
Kids
it.
weight.
And he knew it. He knew it too. I mean, he felt it. He was like, man, the power's there. There's just no weight to
That's
this.
exactly what I said out loud for the world to hear. I beat like 6 people in pool, and because Bryan couldn't play pool, he's like, we're going to wrestle, and grabs me. And then I was like, you're just coming off the ground now.
But you think of like heavy moments, and I think about those times. But even in those moments, I worry, like, we're trying to have a good time. You always worry about that voice that's like, but you guys are supposed to be perfect. You're not supposed to ever mess up. You're not supposed to. And it's like, that's not God saying that. Otherwise, he wouldn't put his son on the cross. I think he knew what we were capable of. But what is wrong with people to think that just because you really, really want people to hear some good news, you really want people to be able to experience what you have, that you don't also experience what they do? It's the same thing.
Well, and if you don't put yourself where people are, how are you going to reach them if you're called to reach them? I've got a good example of that people would have thought was whack-a-mole. They know me well enough, but I called a cigar night, and I didn't put any standards on it. I didn't think to. And I got a lot of guys that I knew through different places, but a lot through ministry. And, dude, there's like 12 bottles of scotch that come through my front door, right? And we're all sitting back there, and I'm like, was this a smart idea? And I kind of, at that point, said, hey,
Rarely ever
we
a
can
scotch
have,
a good idea,
you
but-
guys can have a finger if you're going to have a drink and actually enjoy it. We're not drinking. Like, if you're pairing it, that's fine. And so we do it, and a guy goes back in, right?
Yeah.
Nothing got out of hand, nor would I let it. But the point being was, like, when something's happening like that, or we're in an environment with just a ton of people around. Bryan, we went to a pool hall, and there's people from all weight, shapes, sizes, ethnicities, beliefs, both sides of the political party, all over this place. That's fine. We're just out in the world. And so the world had come to my house, and the super religious thing to do would be like, no, if we're going to talk about God, nobody's having a drink. And nothing would have come up. Well, about 2 weeks later, I walked in. I was like, hey, man, we were talking about just having, half a shot of scotch in a glass. If you guys are going to have one with your cigar, you needed to come back inside. You doing okay? And then he came to me and started talking about, hey, I've started having like a drink 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm worried about myself. I would have never got to have a 2-hour conversation with somebody that I care a ton about, that has a family, if things weren't just happening like they happen.
Right.
Right. And you know what? It wasn't, this is what sucks about religion, why it tears everything down. And this is what sucks about people just being in shame about the action. That dude's problem wasn't the alcohol, right? Like when we started sitting down and talking about,
it's tied to something else.
Yeah. And so we got to the root of what's going on through freaking his parents, through how he feels about being a dad, through having another foster. Like, it was a lot. Prayed all the way through it. And the crazy thing, once he worked through what was really going on, he didn't even want to drink during the week anymore. If we would just let people be who they are, and then be sincere and have enough equity with people to say, hey, I noticed this change. Are you okay? Not call them out on the act, just ask them genuinely if they're okay and spend some freaking time with them. You'll start to help people live bolder, better lives.
I think people get in this mindset too that when someone is talking to them about something they've done, instead of just steering into the humility side where it's just like, yeah, I have messed up quite a bit and I'm probably going to continue to do that because I'm not no different than you. Instead of just going that route, they try to defend what they did, almost like, well, it wasn't really as wrong as you think. I noticed that happen recently, and I'm like, I think that I just find it to be easier just to tell people, yeah, I kind of didn't know you didn't expect me to mess up on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I do. In fact, probably more than you even know about it, and you, but it can get you down. And I did with me. I mean, I've been for a couple of weeks. Other things contribute to it, for sure. It's not just a singular thing, but you start to really just stir around in it and wonder, like, Lord, why? Sometimes I think some of these are easy ones. I'm like, dude, can we not can we just get rid of some of the easy little peck stuff? Like, why are we doing all this? And I still don't understand that. I had a conversation, actually yesterday in therapy with the lady that knows Tara. She's going over this the TJ test.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, I never had it explained the way that she explained it, and what it could detect was actually really unbelievable to me, because I don't know about you guys, but when you take those tests, you ever kind of try to beat it? Like, have you ever done a personality test and you're like trying to
Every time.
Yeah.
Ultra competitive.
You know what I like about
Try to beat the personality
silly
test, and
test
you can't
detected
even
that.
you
Yeah,
can't
I
even
was
beat
like,
it because it's a test.
A good test is they write it to the fact that if you're trying to beat something, it'll still tell you everything about
It
yourself.
still kind of detected why I would do something like that. And I'm sitting there talking to her about it, and we're having that conversation about, like, why in the world are we all going through all this stuff? I just don't understand that. And I think I get that question more than anything. And man, I wish we had an answer for that for people. Like, why are we going through the things we're going through? Why are people the way they are when they don't need to be? When they don't need to be.
A lot of brokenness in the world, bro.
And it's like reactions and responses, right? I guess, people they don't really see it. I mean, if you were to line up 10 cases to where someone's done or said or caused destruction, I feel like a lot of the times as I think about them, because I've got a few in my mind for sure, but if you were to present the hard facts to that person, you're still wrong. They don't see it.
They're not ready.
It's like they're defending, or they've taken their emotions and convinced themselves or justified their actions, and so they are theoretically in their own minds right, because they decided. And I always just tell my mom, because she hated, well, I can't believe people do this, I can't believe people do that. And I'm like, well, Mom, if people don't believe what you believe, then they don't really think they're doing anything wrong.
That's a very true statement.
And that's the end of the conversation.
Oh, that's
Well,
real.
that's
That's
why
real life.
That's why we can't force the truth or our opinion on anybody. And the detriment there too, right, is just like you said. So if somebody's in several environments and they're causing other people emotional distress or pain, they're a problem, right? So as a leader in an organization, you would have to address that.
Right.
In a family dynamic, you have to address that. However, for that person, when you're helping that person, what's going on with the actions, again, we've already learned, right? That's not the real problem. And so if you address the actions and they deny whatever it is, they're dealing with a significant stronghold, some kind of spiritual attack, but a lot of it comes from life, right? It comes from the family bloodline, or it comes from something that's happened to them or that they didn't get. There's a lot of kinds of trauma, and some of it's that we didn't get the things from our parents that we needed. And guess what? When we're adults walking through the same frame, it shows back up. And I think that one of the hardest things, not just that conversation, but for us is like knowing, and we started out with this too, like what you should do next, not emotionally being able to get there. and not knowing why. That like I know that I should do this next right thing, but I can't do it. Right?
Yeah.
And that's because there's some work to do. You know what's hard for me, because you mentioned, good for you too, by the way, going and walking through the things you need to walk through with somebody that's specialized in that. You know how many people never go, like they know that that's available and they know that's the answer and they won't go do it. They just stay stuck. That's the hardest thing for me to see is like there's so many resources for anything you're dealing with. If you ask the right people and make a plan and go sit with these people that are specialized just in that thing. Trauma from mom, trauma from dad, loneliness, abandonment, abuse, career development, anything that you want. But so many people, rather than going and being exposed or walking back through something that was painful, they just keep sitting in the mess that they're in now. And they keep replaying the same thing over and over again.
Well, I think we do the same thing. Like I was doing the last, when I was saying I wasn't able to like get back into a routine, because I mean, I think this is going to be kind of a real thing too, by the way. Hopefully I don't get struck by lightning. But I feel like if it's a routine thing, it doesn't have a lot of, push to it, which is probably wrong. I think the Lord can do anything with whatever he wants to do anything with. But for me, like if I don't feel that like push to pursue, I just write it off in general, I'm like, this is a waste of time. I don't want to do it, or I don't feel like doing it. And I think where I had to get was to start to really think about, I really want to have that pursuit feeling, but I'm wrestling lately with like, there's just some things not going the way I want.
Yeah, that's the real thing, though. You just said the real thing.
So what do you do? It's just not going the way you want.
Yeah,
Things aren't going the way you want.
I think that's where we started. Is the first step is quit masking, quit not doing this, or keep the other fake routine that's slightly detrimental but not completely detrimental in your life, and you've got to admit that things aren't going the way you want.
Right.
And you got to really work that out. And what does that mean? And how does that make you feel? And why? And what's that rooted in? And the second that we get to something that we can't handle, we're adults. Like, we have people watching us. We have gifts and talents to use. We have people to help. We're raising kids. Our life is too valuable to not go sit with the right dadgum people in our life that's available and go get the help we don't have. You can't answer things you don't know the answer to. So you got to go have the mentors and have the conversations. This last week, and this is way easy, I have a really complex situation come up because of why I was so heavy at my birthday. The hospital visits, just the stuff. And there's something I can't answer. And then because of the thing I can't answer and people trying to help, there's a couple situations I have to handle well because things happen and hurt other people, like you were saying. But guess who gets to have the conversation? So I made a phone call. And I'm like, hey, and you talk about pastors. I'm like, I've got some in my life that's had to deal with these situations for a decade. And they're not fun. And you have to be the leader and you have to make the phone call. But I'm not going to do this on my freaking own. I'm not going to make I'm not going to make a call that's that important without getting some wisdom and some advice. And I have the benefit of doing it from somebody that hasn't been at that hospital with me. Do you know how great it is to be on the outside of all that trauma and all that emotion? My decisions are still tied to that whole mess. And so he's outside of all that stuff, able to give me wise counsel, able to pray with me, able to tell me I don't have to do this in 2 seconds. And here's how the conversations went that didn't work well when he was young. And here's how he matured and learned how to frame these conversations.
And I think that came from you taking the breath, taking the 5 extra seconds to wipe your feet and go,
yeah.
I need other help here that I can't provide, and I can't dive head first into it, or I will hurt the relationship with this person. I will hurt whatever with this person. I will hurt our working relationship, however that looks like. You and I think I'd say wipe your feet because Bryan knows this, but I used to watch a lot of wrestling like Bryan did when the Hulk and the Rock and all those like the heroes were in
when
it.
it was awesome.
When the heroes were in it, not when the zeros were in it. But like,
Hulkamaniacs.
and they, if you watch wrestling at all and you watch the intros and whatever, a lot of these wrestlers get to the side of the ring and they wipe their feet before they walk into the ring. And some say it's like a sign of respect. Some say it's like for staph infection, and that's not here or there. But for me, that's a body posture that I've tried to take this year is like wipe your feet before you go head first into stuff. So you have the extra 4 seconds to like think.
Or more.
To have the
I'll
extra,
t- I'll
you
tell
know,
you.
I mean, to have mentally to have the second of like, okay, this is what I'm doing right now. We're about to go do it. Like, I can immerse myself into this rather than being like, I'm going to immerse myself and like, it's going to go poorly because I'm going to bang over here and hit over here and do this and all that stuff, whatever. And
I'm gonna go fix it.
yeah, I'm going to go fix the problems. But
Feel it.
when
Piss
you-
and emotion. I'm
when you, yeah, just feel spite and emotion and piss and Celsius. I'm going to go fix all my problems.
When-
But they wipe their feet and they walk in and it's a little bit more composed. I'm like, man, that's kind of been, that was like my word phrase of the year was like, wipe your feet before you dive into stuff. So,
Well, and as you mature too with kids, wife, anything in business, as you climb the ladder or if you run a business, you know, you have to do that unless you want stuff to just run really poorly. Because if you go in with emotion, you fix things right then because you want to, so you don't have to deal with them later. So that you don't have to deal with them later, you don't handle them right. You don't reflect, you don't seek wise counsel, you don't give the person the time and the wisdom that they really deserve in it because you're not caring for them, you're caring for yourself. But when it comes back to the fact that you haven't cared for yourself for too long, Brian,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really where you haven't cared for yourself for too long, you've got to get realigned. You've got to get away from all the nonsense, all the routine, all the jackassery side stuff. And that's what we all get in. We all run to something, and that can be Netflix for 8 hours. When you start doing that stuff again to just numb yourself and get away, you're not okay. Like, view yourself like a car. Check engine light as you get older is always on. That was the joke from last night, by the way. But when the whole dashboard's lit up, like, you've got to go sit and get some maintenance with the Lord. And what's amazing is, guys, we run our lives. We have the ability to just take a day off and go out in the woods or go get on a boat or what. We're in the United States. Brian, you and I went to Brazil. What people don't realize is at our fingertips, we can go do things right now anywhere in this country they can't do in other countries, and we have the resource to do it. So go take care of yourself.
When you're kind of a giver too, or when you enjoy trying to help people, or if you kind of have a glue type mentality where you're kind of known for gluing things back together, holding things together, you're still prone to continuing to do what you feel like you're impactful or effective at. But when you're at, you're scraping the bottom or you're feeling lots of shame or guilt, you're doing that. But what it's actually doing now, instead of, because a lot of times if you're doing okay, you're feeling lined up. When you're doing that, it's almost fulfillment for you. You're not getting tired from it. You're actually getting more inspired or more filled up from the effort. But when you're down and you're scraping at the bottom, you're guilty, living in shame, you're still wanting to do it because you truly do have a heart and a passion to do it, but it's actually draining you further because it's coming out of obligation now. It's more scripted. You know exactly what to say, when, and how, versus it being kind of more of a led thing.
Yeah, you can put a mask on.
Yeah, because you're performing again.
And you know what we have to admit, right, is when it gets to that point, what's an axe for? Like if you have an axe, okay, what do you do with an axe?
it's for hacking big chunks off. It's for cutting down big trees. It's for cutting big things.
Yeah,
down.
that's what it's for. It has a purpose. And so no matter what our gifts and talents are, they're for a purpose. How well do you cut the tree down when the blade's dull?
Not well.
And so
But also, in another picture, how well do you, whittle the stick with an axe?
yeah, you can't do the wrong job. But Brian's talking about masking the right talent.
Yeah.
And so it is the talent that he has is to produce and give. But again, when it's dull,
Yeah.
like
You ain't cutting.
you have to go sit and get sharpened. And you know what you do when you sit and get sharpened? You know what the axe does while it's getting sharpened? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And that's hard for men.
It is difficult
That's
because
so hard to do nothing.
it's repetitious for you almost. It's like the opportunities are always there. They're everywhere, and so it's hard to shut off and not take them. You know, it's almost like not hitting a pitch right down the middle. It's like I know what to do. I know what to say. But the problem is that when you're doing it in those times or where you're just out of sync, it just drains you more than it helps you.
Well, that's a culture problem. Remember, we got to go to Brazil, but in some other parts of the country too, to travel, you'll hear everybody say it at once. The phone, when it doesn't get any service, about 3 or 4 hours in, they go, "This is fantastic," because they quit checking the phone. None of the calls come through. Like, we need to do that. That's self-care. We have to do that for ourselves. Text anybody that matters, call, schedule it, and say, "I'm not available for the next 8 hours. Can't get a hold of me."
I think it's important for people to hear too that, you know, I mean, at least I'm willing to say it. I don't know about other people. I've met some people in my life where I feel like that they're so sick with self-righteousness that it's almost worse than my hypocrisy, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? They think they're so fine at everything and that they're doing so great.
Well, that's just insecurity.
And it just smells so much of like self-righteous. I almost think, Lord, I do kind of suck, but I'd almost rather really suck than to be like you who doesn't realize how bad you suck.
Well, you're hiding it. And
Yeah.
again, anybody that boasts in any of that crap, if I need you to see that I'm good right here, it's because I'm insecure right here. It's not real. That's why when you get around people that don't deal with insecurity or that are very vulnerable, everybody responds to it because it disrupts the room because they're actually free. You know, last night we circled up the guys and Rob's talking about fear. And he said, "I can't put my finger on it, but there's a time when I watch my kids." So he has 6 kids, all of them wrestle. His daughter's one of the best wrestlers in the country 2 years in a row right now. And he's like, but it's different times for both of them. They'll go out there on the wrestle mat. And Bryan, you know how you like shoot, but you turn your head and your shoulder like this because you're scared? He's like, there's a time for the different wrestler and you can see it where the other wrestler is wrestling and they're fluid and everything's shook out. Nothing's tight. And they're going for anything that they want to accomplish in that match because they're free. Fear doesn't have a spot on the mat with them anymore. They've done it enough, they stepped into it enough that they're living a free life. What we're talking about with people's hookups and hangups is, and that's when we become free and our value and identity come from the Lord, that's their problems. They're still not able to wring their arms out and live boldly the way they're supposed to live without putting on this front specifically here or giving specifically here because that's attached to their identity.
I think something important we want to hear we want people to hear us saying is that you're going to get in the mud sometimes. You're going to be in the weeds sometimes. In fact, I would wonder if you never are, that you really are. You're just kind of acting like you're not. I can say for sure the last couple of weeks I've kind of been in it. I've verbalized it a couple of times out loud. I can't really define it, and maybe I shouldn't. Maybe that's a show of weakness to people that are looking to me for something different, and it's definitely an opportunity for people who are moderately my opposition to make sure everyone knows that I suck or that I'm fake or that I'm whatever, which I hate that too. But I think it's better to try to talk about it than to hide it. I almost feel like when you're hiding it or acting like it's not there, that you can come across with like either a lot of resentment or that you don't care. You know, and ultimately that's not my heart position. I mean, even though when I'm stressed or mad or heavy with guilt or shame, I still care. And so I think men specifically, we kind of always say this. I mean, what we're talking about on here usually is for everybody. I just don't pretend to know sometimes how a female perspective is going to hear some of the things we talk about. Because we've talked about too is female emotions, their emotional IQ is generally much higher than men's.
Yeah, females are
and
made
the way
different all the way to their brain.
And a lot of times what may work for us and may point us isn't something that resonates with them as much. But I think what I would want men to hear is, which is important because men are isolators by nature for the most part. And once things get too heavy or too weird, or we don't feel like we can control it because we're so used to powering through or fixing it or picking it up or moving it. And that masculinity piece where it's like you can picture a guy lifting weights. It's like our job to pick up heavy things, it's our job to move it. Well, when we get to these emotional things or these places where it's really heavy, you don't get to do that.
Nope.
Physical strength has absolutely no effect on the emotional or spiritual place that you're at. And you need to kind of figure out how to verbalize that because the water gets deep, and everybody can tread water for like a little bit different times. And, if you're not doing great, if you're not spending time where you need to, if you're way out of alignment, you're not going to be able to tread water very long before you kind of start to go under.
No, and the point of talking about, I was in a hospital with some people. There was some crazy stuff happening, a month ago, 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And then I got some stomach flu, and then I got COVID. And it's been a season. And then I've got 4 or 5 other guys going through some really hard things at home. And I'm the guy, like, now that I'm healthy, I'm the guy they've reached out to for some answers, right? Those are important conversations. But the point of it, Bryan, no matter what's happening or where we're positioned or what titles we have or what calling we have, we're all going to go through seasons that are storms. And what I want everybody to know is that if you're going through something incredibly heavy, something's rocked you, people did things to you now or in the past and it's come back up, you're not alone. People are going through it too. These silly pastors talking about the prosperity gospel are fake. They don't know. If they know scripture, shame on them. But they're so far from God with the bull crap. In this life, you will go through hard things. And the Lord's set apart from that to give you peace and rest and clarity and to love you in the middle of a storm. And his promise is that he's not leaving in that storm. And you're going to come out with a closer relationship with him. And you will come out stronger. But you've got to do it the right way. And you can't do it the right way by continuing to do what you're doing. And you've got to have people in your life that love you enough when you start Netflixing for 8 hours, or you like go out 52 times, or whatever the thing is that you're starting to do that's because you're stressed out, that they talk to you about it. You have to put people in your life that love you enough that they're not too selfish. Selfish people won't have hard conversations with you because it affects them. Hard conversations are great if you're not in a safe place and you're not in a healthy place. People need to call you out and love you enough to say something.
Well, and I think what everyone needs to understand is even when you're feeling like you're still in the bottom of it, you've got to find a way to, reach up. And I think I would ask, other men, if you don't even see it or you don't know, always be ready to reach down, and try to hook up there. It's a weird place for men to know when they're hurting. Like I said, I'll do a couple things. I know I'm not supposed to do it, and I'm doing it anyway, and then I'm feeling out of alignment, and then all of a sudden I feel like, oh my gosh, this is not even worth it. Now everyone knows how bad I am and how much bad stuff I've done. You've got to stop worrying about people's opinions, kind of. I mean, it sucks when you mess up, because could it give them reason? Maybe. And you got to watch out for that. You don't want to lead people astray on purpose. At the same time, you're not perfect. Try to avoid opinions and go to that kind of more of a repentance prayer. I think that it's a very, very important thing to be always kind of wondering what repentance is and surrender.
Yeah, and let me help you with that. First off, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like, if you're not, don't say it. But repentance is not telling God you're sorry. He's the God of the universe. Repentance is before God telling him that you've watched Netflix. I'll just use Netflix because it's easy. Like 4 days in a row, or you went out on a bender, and that doesn't glorify him, and it doesn't belong in your life, and you want his help to turn away from it. That's repentance, is you're bringing it into the light with the Lord and saying, I need to remove this from my life. It's not getting on your face and saying, I'm sorry, which is way easier. And I'll go back to, Bryan, like you said, in order to pour out and help other people, we need to be in a healthy state. And I think, we talked about friendship earlier, which is really important, but like the whole house getting sick, right? I think I dropped you an audio message earlier this week. Very rarely are you not hollering and saying, how's the week going? What's going on? How are you doing? Hey, I'm dealing with this. Or am I not audio dropping you and going, how are you really doing? Like, I know this stuff's still going on. I know this because we talk every single week. Like, how are you really? And you need to have friendships where that's just always an honest conversation, because that'll keep you from getting, way, way deep and isolated. And then the reaching down thing, it was said really cool last night. Same topic, by the way, was, men, some of you need time in the throne room with the Lord. Other men don't know how to get there. They're so lost right now. They need you to get healthy enough to be bold enough to go grab them by the hand and go sit with the Lord together.
And it's the crazy part is when you have done things you're not supposed to do, that's real hard to do.
Yeah.
Because it's human nature to feel like you're not worthy to do it. And I think most people in general are stuck in that not worthy mindset. Mm-hmm. And that'll keep you from doing almost anything.
That'll absolutely eat you. It'll just eat you alive, because
what's the
if
point?
You feel like you're not worthy, what is the point? And that's where we can go into this on plenty of other episodes. That's where suicide and depression rates are going like this in men, because it's, what's the point? I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of this love. I'm not worthy of this promotion. I'm not worthy of whatever. And
if you're believing that, tell somebody. The thing is here's the lies you'll hear from the enemy. You're the only one going through this. You can't tell anybody. That's a lie. You're not worthy. That's a lie. God said you're more valuable than everything he made. It's a lie. Nobody's going to miss me. They'll be better off without me. Lie. You have incredible impact and influence. You're just sick right now. And so you need somebody to walk with you. It's a lie. And then everybody needs a Mick. Bryan, you said it. It brought me back to, I think, 2 or 3 podcast episodes ago. You were talking about journey and going through some really hard things, and you couldn't write a letter. And Mick's like, you know what? It's time. And he grabbed your hand and got on his face and said, get on your face with me. Like, get in a position you don't want to be in and just submit to the Lord. I'll do it with you. And be that kind of a man. That's why your life's important, guys, is be that man for somebody else in a moment. We go back and forth being that kind of a man. That's a bold way to live. It's not about the accolades, the titles, the money. All that's going to rust, and it's all frivolous. And if you get all of it because you chased it and don't have anything else, you're going to feel
empty,
just helpless. Yeah. So live a fulfilling life. Live it for other people. Get healthy because other people need you. And slow down and realize that you just need to get healthy, and know that there's resources out there, and don't listen to lies.
Well, and I'll tell you guys today, as we're kind of wrapping up, understand too, I can't speak for Kellen and Thad directly, but I can't imagine that we're ever talking through anything and it not be from like a place of our own selves.
Yeah.
Preaching to ourselves, reminding ourselves, trying to bring ourselves back in, reel ourselves in on different concepts and topics. And not every single time maybe it's all 3 at the same time on the same thing. But I think we all experience from time to time when we're talking about something, it's pretty easy to think, yeah, I've had some failure in that area. I'm dealing with it. I'm having to fight that area. And I think it's good to talk about it then, because then you can start to, instead of hide it and try to bury it around, you can just start talking about, okay, we all deal with this. How are we going to deal with it? And don't go hide from it. The problem, when you start to hide from it specifically, you almost try to make it seem like it may be not happening. Because if you can bury it or hide it, maybe it's not really there. And to your point that night with Mick, I kind of wanted to say something about that, Kellen, is, that's kind of the good and bad of a personality like mine. That night, I was definitely supposed to be performing. I was definitely supposed to be rawing and praise the Lord. And here's my letter of, it's called a sailboat story, but here's my sailboat story of awesomeness and positivity and blah, blah, blah. Mine wasn't. In fact, it was so not that I didn't even write it. And I think that, and sometimes I feel bad about this kind of version of my personality, but that's where I was like, look, I'm not going to do that tonight. My story sucks. Yeah. And recently it sucks pretty bad, and I didn't really want to write it down. And so I think it's important for you guys to know too, it's vocalizing where you're at's a pretty big deal, especially for men, knowing that we hide and isolate and do all that. Men are just so bad about that. We want you guys to know that reach out somewhere, somehow. If you don't have anyone to reach out to, you can definitely message us, and we'll do our best to point you in the direction of something or someone that can listen. And we would tell you, we're just never, ever going to be on here. And I'm only saying this part because I had a couple people in the last couple weeks kind of make this little comment, and it drives me crazy about, well, you guys are on that podcast talking about this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, sucks to be us. We're actually still living the same life you are, with the same challenges, the same temptations, but we're also feel like it's impactful and effective to go share about it and not really hide from it. So yeah, it's almost a place of target. We're not getting persecuted by any means here. I don't feel like we are. I didn't even feel like those statements were really persecuting to me as much as it was like someone needing an excuse to not face their own.
Yeah.
And if you don't have to face your own, you can kind of just lob some stones at me. Guilty.
He didn't wear weird jeans today, though. I can't persecute him.
I got a couple more ready.
You look super normal today.
Well, here's what's going on, guys. When we talked about the loss of weight,
nothing is red.
Brother, nothing fits. Nothing fits. That is correct.
Things are weird when I leave jeans on Thad's desk to see if they fit him. Because you're just taller, you know what I mean? You're wider. It's not.
The waist didn't fit.
Were they too big?
Yeah.
Lord.
I was like, holy crud.
You guys wear capris, though, where they don't have to come down all the way.
These came all the way to the ankle.
I'm talking about his pants.
Oh,
if he shared them with you and you're taller, that's just proof that he doesn't want his ankles covered up.
We're all just so featherweight. I'm like trying to go in the gym the other day, and it's like a super heavy door, and Legacy's like opening the door. I'm like, Lord, man, this door feels heavy. Like, I'm just weak.
I have not hopped on
What are you down to?
178, but man, I don't know, dude.
What
I'm
were
lifting.
you at?
I can still lift.
What
the
were
weights.
you at the heavy?
I just feel so much
Like
lighter
210?
than I ever have. It feels weird. I'm trying to put
amazing.
more weight back on. I'm still lifting the weight. My strength is there.
It was
There's
all that
not
strength around that pool table that he was.
There's not as
talking
much
about
bricks
when
in
I
the
told
feet
him-
anymore.
When I told him
I'm
how
at
strong he was.
205, and I was almost 250.
Yeah, that's pretty good, dude.
I'm glad you're both getting
Congratulations on
healthy.
that.
Hey, baby.
Healthy.
Trying.
Well, and with your running, that's got to be better for your knees, dude. Like lighter on your knees and
I'll
joints.
just tell you, I feel a lot better when I run.
I know you're smiling in your last picture running.
Dude, I had so much fun. And my clothes fit so good. Like, I can go back and look at those.
Hey,
Back
that
in
was
the
like,
5 inchers,
I was like,
wearing them 5 inchers.
dude,
That's
they're
what,
just compression shorts out there.
That's what we need to close on. Is Thad? You brought that up too. Like, I know, and we've all gone through stuff in the last couple months that's incredibly heavy that we can't do anything about. It's just a part of life, with where we're at, what we're leading, and what we're doing. But don't forget to have a little fun. Like, go live still. There's a life to live.
I love hearing that you're wearing compression shorts, Thad. I'm going to have to ask next time when you post pictures of you in a pair of, we call those Spanx or whatever you want to call them. I need you to put hashtag healing journey, because all the girls out there wearing those shorts out in public, that's what they do there. So I'm going to need you to hashtag that. Healing.
I only got 5
journey.
hashtags somehow on my post.
Also, by the way,
I was like,
longer
okay,
story to this.
Instagram.
I kind of want to say too, and this is interesting to me, if we're ever talking about something and it sounds like something that is about someone specific, it's probably like about 11 people. It's not about you. It's probably about me. It's probably about me or about 15 other people that we know. I had someone think it was definitely about me and this and that, and I'm like, maybe, but maybe not. Sometimes we make up scenarios, meaning it's not a lie, but it's something we've seen before, but it's not about like a specific thing yesterday. It's so
truth.
funny.
The manosphere.
It's so
Watch
funny
the
when
video
people
for
do
you.
that. I'm like, what are you guilty of?
No, they just people again being selfish is about them. A lot of times when we don't say people's names, or I don't say we, Bryan doesn't say people's names, it's because he changes the story and it is about some other person, but it's nothing to do with you would not catch on because everything was changed up, right?
But if you're doing something and you're feeling like that, you're feeling like
Man, I'll put healing journey on there for me.
Hashtag.
But no.
But I'll say healing journey of be myself.
Well,
That's really
I'll
what it
tell you
is.
this: when the Lord begins to work, and He opens up an opportunity for you to prance around without any clothes on, it's definitely a spiritual and healing journey.
Yeah, I think they have
He's in the
I
middle
think
of that.
I think they have beaches for that, Thad.
He's in the middle of it.
If you ever get to
We're
that
fine.
point, we'll come and tell you that you have problems. We love you enough to tell
That'll
you.
be fine. It's fine. You can come tell me whatever you want.
Can you imagine Thad trying to get work his way through being locked up?
You know what's
Like, he was
crazy to
locked
me
up for-
is that anything we really want to do or that our flesh wants to do, we can bring God into any of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, baby.
You know, He
healing
just
journey.
opened up the doors. Did He? To do that? Okay. But that's what we do because it makes us feel better.
Yeah,
It
we're
helps
still
us
being selfish.
justify actions. I heard one recently where someone was doing something. It is what it is. I'm not saying it's a sin. I'm just not saying that I don't know that God's like in that. Like if you're doing something you want to do, but it doesn't necessarily line up with what would be a spiritual thing, I don't know that God aligned that for you. You just worked hard. Cool. You worked hard and you accomplished a goal. And here you are going to do what it is. But I don't know that He's up in the whole Lord, I can't even think of a great example, but in a situation where you're going to maybe be exposing most of yourself to a lot of people to show the progress you've made.
Somebody's like, "Hey, I got this brand new BMW. Look what the Lord did." Like,
And it's not a problem to get the BMW, right?
No.
Maybe you worked hard, maybe you did this, but I don't know that
and
God was there doing
Well-
that. He allowed you to work hard. He gave you talent, ability, but
well,
We off on the rabbit trail now.
Yeah,
We're just
we're off on a
chasing
rabbit
it.
trail.
We just
That's a
chasing the
whole nother
rabbits.
thing.
We have bunnies just
You shouldn't-
running in front of us right
you
now.
shouldn't-
God,
yeah,
that
it's
literally
late.
up on the stage.
It's
Yeah,
late
he
on a
could be
Friday.
monetizing
I've been
that.
sick for a week and a half. Hey, here's the deal. We don't use the God's name for things that rust and decay away that don't actually bring Him glory, and we also shouldn't use the devil's name a lot and give him any glory. And so if you're doing that, then you're kind of just out of place.
well, and I think too, if it causes people to lust or do different things or sin or be weird, I don't know if that's really something He lined up, but
I think that's
who
called
am I? I've been pretty bad lately. So don't forget to
cancel.
rate
Cancel.
and review the podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can see our pretty faces on YouTube if you check us out there. We would love the opportunity to be in your friends' phones too. So if you could share it, copy the link, put it on your Facebook or Instagram, we would greatly appreciate it. And I guess we can call it a day. Don't forget,
Get canceled.
cancel.
And yeah, don't forget.